I will invite my friend A.D.Amar.
Good evening. Well, what I'm going to do here this evening is to tell you how can you apply the concept of Bhagavad Gita, Upanishad, Vedas, Puranas, and all ancient Indian writings, because they are more relevant now than at any other time. And if you are either managing an operation, a business, or you are a business person, what I'm going to tell you is how you can apply these things and get the highest productivity and innovation from your employees or from your business. Let me go slightly into the past, and I know my time limit, and I don't want to scare my friend Satinder. I remember the time, so leave me alone. Okay. Now, you know, India came into limelight in the whole world after Y2K. And many of you remember Y2K was year 2000, when it was expected that once the clock started to tick at year 2000, it is going to create an havoc. And Indians came and they entered in the technology era. Now, the world is entering into the new era, that is the knowledge era. Knowledge era requires brain. Knowledge era does not require skills. So Indians come here in the world stage again with the knowledge. And Gita tells how to handle knowledge, how to manage knowledge. Upanishads, the Vedas tell exactly the same thing. I am not an expert of Gita or of Vedas or of Upanishads. I also know very little Sanskrit. The last Sanskrit I learned was in 8th grade. So all I know is what I learned about Gita from my home, by reading on my own, my love for Vedas, Upanishads, which I got from my father, and I then studied on my own. I teach MBA students mostly, and I use Gita, Upanishad, Vedas on a regular basis without telling them. But all the techniques are applied, and I am bringing them here in this presentation, which I called Delegating Leading. We do not want you to lead your employees. That is the key. Leave them alone, like the Bhagavad Gita says. Make sure they have the knowledge and then leave them away. While they are taking care of the technical glitch, I want to tell you about this temple, the Ranakpur temple. I bring my students every year to India, and this is one year I took them to Ranakpur temple. I was so impressed by the architecture and by the artwork. I then took some pictures, and I turned this picture into my PowerPoint design. And I use that regularly in my classes and tell them about the Ranakpur temple, which is Jain and Hindu temple combined. So let's see if it works now. Thank you. All right. First, today's business is very different. As I told you, we do not need skill. Let me here give you something from Ford. Henry Ford said, all I'm looking for are 2 hands. But the problem is, when I ask for hands, I get a brain with it. So they did not want to use the brain. Now it is the opposite. I don't want your hands. We have enough technology, robots and AI and all those to take care of hands. What I need is brain. So what does that mean? That means I want everybody in my company, in my management, to be able to use brain. So we tell us as managers, don't lead anybody. Leave them alone, because you do not know what is to be done and how to be done. But these people know. And so we call that principles of power diffusion. That means give power to others. And that is exactly what spiritualism says, what Gita says, what humanity says. So it's an application of that. So first principle is, I did it on my own. So lead people that after you are done telling them, they tell you, actually, I did it on my own. Nobody told me. That is the best kind of leadership. The guru who, after he gave you the guidance and you do, you say, actually, I did on my own. And that is exactly what we want, people to gain confidence and believe that they did on their own. And second, we want to bring in the principle of virtual leadership. Virtual leadership is like, I, in this case, bring the case of that Arjuna's combatant who was Naval, and he had to sacrifice his thumb to his guru because he had gotten training from Dronacharya simply by his idol rather than by going to any kind of school with him. So that is the concept used here. This means you can actually get leadership from anyone through virtual leadership. I have written a book on this. So if anybody would be interested, you can go buy the book on Amazon.com. So given the time I have, I am going to move fast. And then we have the process of how can you have leadership without actually engaging in that. First is what we call the leadership homeostasis. That means leave people alone, leave the team alone, and they will discover a leader. You do not want to appoint a leader because that is going to hinder progress. And second step is free followers from the yoke of loyalty. Do not expect your employees to be loyal to you or to the organization. They should be loyal to some kind of principles. And loyalty then brings in behavior that is not optimal. People then believe, I have to keep my boss happy, and we do not want to do that. Third step is lax encumbrances. Do not expect much from employees because that will somehow contain their thinking. Leave them alone, leave them free. And fourth step is vague discernments. Do not give rewards, do not give punishment for failure. In the knowledge world, which is the world we are now stepping into, there will be many failures. If you start to punish people for failures, the outcome will be they will not take risk. They will only pass time, and you do not want that. Also, do not reward them much. If you reward them much, then they will be expecting reward, and that will curtail their freedom. And MIT research has recently said, wherever there is knowledge involved, do not bring in reward. Although I had published this in year 2001, October, and MIT research actually empirically proved it only about 2 years ago. So then we get into fifth step, which is internalizer behavior. That is research from several authors. I have cited them here. They say every intelligent person wants to look for reason behind the outcome, and then they try to associate that outcome with what they did or what happened to them. And those people who associate what happened to them with what they did, they are the ones who succeed. And we want our employees in the knowledge era to be somehow associating everything to them. And that is what step 5 says. And there are citations here, and you can look at them further. Step 6 says, a political behavior. Do not bring politics, because politics bring in problems that do not give us full freedom. And seventh and last step of the diffuse power is to create environmental instrumentality. That means have a kind of policy way we manage, administer, so it becomes an environment where instrumentation is created for people to function, not lead, not tell them what to do. And with that, I'm going to stop, and there is no time for questions. That's what my friend Paul said. So thank you so much for the opportunity to introduce. I have, by the way, all the references. If you would need, I can leave the references with Dr. Kanoria. Thank you so much.